With many of NASCAR's sponsors hurting, racing teams are finding funding harder to come by. Here to explain how some NASCAR teams are still racing ahead in the money game is Zach Brown, founder of Just Marketing International. Zach, great to have you back on Sports Money. Let's talk NASCAR this time. Very, very tough economy. How would you describe the sponsorship environment right now as basically we're heading right before the Daytona 500 as opposed to a year ago?
Some major sponsors have stepped up their investment and very few have actually pulled out of the sport. So hoping that the economy turns, we should be able to ride out this the storm we're in right now and be back to business as usual.
But in real dollar terms, 09 will probably be lower than 08, I think it's safe to say.
Yeah, I definitely think so. How much, I'm not quite sure, because again, the contract, no one ultimately knows how much is going into the sport. It's very difficult to measure, but I would say, yeah, you're going to see less hospitality, less show car usage, less activation, but I don't believe you're going to see many less sponsors, on the hoods of race cars.
And you have to be creative, which is what I see Just Marketing has been doing. And one thing I found fascinating was the relatively new deal you have with Roush Fenway Racing and David Reagan and UPS. Can you get into that a little bit?
It was a very transparent process. Once they decided that they wanted to review their options, ultimately I would work very closely and my team with the UPS executives, and you go around and you start by kind of a process of elimination. You look at what UPS criteria was: a good driver, a long-term relationship, a driver that's capable of winning championships in a team, etc. And so ultimately you start with a clean sheet of paper and you look at the field. You can pretty quickly narrow it down to 5 to 10 teams that would make sense and fit UPS criteria. You then go meet with those teams at the racetrack, at the race shops. You talk to other sponsors, and ultimately then narrow that down to probably 3 that you'd ultimately be comfortable racing with any of those 3. They're all good options at that point. And then you get further into, you start your business negotiations once you understand, all right, here are 3 teams that I think we'd be comfortable with. And then ultimately through that process, may the best partnership win.
What about the fact that, as being part of the Fenway Sports Group, Roush Fenway has the marketing muscle and the financing to really be secure? The number of teams now we've seen consolidate and have a lot of trouble getting the financing. Did that play a big role for UPS?
Absolutely. First and foremost were, can this team win championships? And they have multiple championships. Can they win races? They're as successful as anyone out there. And are they stable? Some racing teams aren't stable, and it's our job as UPS representatives to make sure we put them in a situation that is financially very stable. And Roush has got as much cash in the bank account as anyone else and has tremendous stability, a very big team, actually the largest team. They've got 5 Cup cars currently. So yeah, that was definitely a part of the consideration was, no risk.
Do you think you're going to see more racing teams do something like Roush did, which is join with, really a group that's with the Boston Red Sox and tie into other sports?
Yes. Yeah, I think you see these sports properties who, you look at Fenway Sports, they're now playing in golf. They're not just a baseball entity anymore. So I think you will see continued kind of how can we broaden the reach and offer more to our sponsors.
Now, I don't want you to give away your trade secrets because you've got your own business to look out here, but just for some other marketing people out there, what are some of the secrets from how Just Marketing International, particularly in this tough economy, is able to bring in new clients? What advice would you give to some young marketing people who are looking to gain sponsorships, even outside of NASCAR?
Yeah, I mean, ultimately any marketing investment has to have a return on investment. And those return on investments are different depending on what type of company you are. If you're, Verizon, you're looking to get new subscribers. So, if you're Lenovo, you're looking to build a brand. And so, what's important is you understand the client's needs and you develop a program that is measurable on the front end. We see all the time and are hired by companies who sponsor and they're not quite sure why yet, and then at the end of the year they try and measure it and it's not measurable because you need to put those mechanisms in place on the front end. So any advice I would give is make sure that you know the client extremely well and you understand how to use motorsports or any sport for that matter to ultimately drive those benefits, because there's a lot of things you can buy in any form of sport that won't reach your objectives. Right. But, you know, hey, let's just buy. So I think the day of selling anything to anyone is long gone, but showing something that's a business driver, regardless of what type of sport or sponsorship that is, people still need to buy, people still need to grow their business. They just don't have any room for error.
I'd like to thank Zach Brown for being my guest on Sports Money. I'm Mike Ozanian. Thanks for watching, and remember, life is the 6 inches in front of your face.